On a radio 87.7 FM. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you all? Are you well? What is good? What's happening? How's the day been? Everyone back to work after a 4-day weekend? Yeah, I know that feeling too. Literally have just got into the studio after dashing from work from home. It's a good thing I live just down the road. Otherwise, I would have struggled today. But listen, I hope you're all well. I hope everything is good. It's day 18, alhamdulillah, of Ramadan, or 17, depending on when you started. And it is the 19th of April. So spring has definitely sprung. And we are looking forward to the summer. Yes, I'm all for that sunshine and sort of just chilling out, and all that good stuff. So I hope everything is good with you. I hope you are maximizing these golden days and golden moments and hours and seconds to obtain Allah's blessing and barakah, inshallah al-aziz. Okay, so before I introduce today's guest on Drive Time, which is going to be a good one, I'm sure, let me just remind you, lovely people of Ramadan Radio, about the Leicester Hospitals charity and the current campaign. Maulana Khalil talked about it earlier on. The Children's Hospital here are raising money to buy Eid presents for the lovely children who unfortunately are going to be spending this Eid in the hospital. So why don't we all put a smile on their lovely faces by going to www.justgiving.com/fundraising/Ramadan Radio. Wonderful way to spend your money. No matter how much you give something. Let's help all of those poor sick children who unfortunately can't spend Eid with their families this time. So there we go. So Akil just brought the Ramadan camera so you can all see me now. I hope my guest can see me. So in fact, let me introduce him right now. So joining me today in conversation in the hot seat, and he's actually orbiting the Earth as we speak right now. I can see him on his Zoom background. He's somewhere in the cosmos, but he's dialed in to join us. It gives me great pleasure to be able to welcome Brother Shakil Qureshi from the New Crescent Society. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Shakil.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. How are you, Brother Irfhan?
Good. It looks quite warm in space where you are right now. Yeah?
Yeah, it's lovely here.
T-shirt weather, is it? Okay. Good stuff. Listen, Jazakumullah khair for joining us today. I'm really intrigued and curious, not just to talk to you, but to learn about what the New Crescent Society does. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be thinking the same right now. So all I know about the New Crescent Society, it's looking at how we can celebrate astronomy and Islam and all that good stuff together. And I suppose looking at the historical, astronomical Islamic history that we've had, and how we can apply that to, I suppose, modern day living. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. So New Crescent Society, what we look to do is we aim to celebrate the relationship between astronomy, faith, and Islam. And we aim to do this by connecting the community with the cosmos. Right? So a little bit more background about New Crescent Society is founded by Brother Imad Ahmed. He couldn't be here today himself because due to ill health. So everyone, please remember him in your du'as.
Inshallah.
He needs a lot of du'as right now. So kindly remember that. But yeah, New Crescent Society has been doing a lot of good work, trying to bring the community together because, like, let's face it, there's not much unity amongst the Muslim Ummah when it comes to things like, having a unity for Eid and that kind of thing. And not just Eid, it's like other things like when we go into like Ramadan start dates and all that kind of thing. There's always disunity, right? So, but New Crescent Society, one of the leaders in trying to bring people together and have like unity and togetherness in this field.
Okay, great stuff. So that's a really important topic, I think. It's obviously, it can be a provocative topic, let's be honest, amongst
Absolutely,
the communities. I mean, so as far as I can remember, growing up here in Leicester, we've always been reliant upon what the masajids have announced in terms of Ramadan starting and Eid beginning and all those sorts of things. And as the years have progressed, there have been, a growing number of voices and differing opinions on how we should sight the moon, when we should sight the moon, where we should sight the moon, or if we should, be following any sort of scientific calculations or looking towards other geographical countries in order to obtain a correct start date. So, in terms of what I would like to ask you, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have got questions, and no doubt they'll be coming in during the course of this discussion, Brother Shakil. What was the point at which, Brother Ahmad said, okay, you know what, we need to have a discourse, we need to have a dialogue around this, but we need to have something which is measured, which is adult, because, a lot of emotions can be generated, which I'm sure you know. But what was that point where we need to do something, and what has the initial response or reaction been to the society?
I mean, overall, the response has been positive. I mean, wherever we've taken the message, it's been accepted warmly. And the reason why he's done this is because, look, I can talk in my lifetime, when I was growing up as a kid, there's always been that disunity. I mean, there's like various masjids across the country. They follow like different countries and calculation methods and whatnot, okay? And what you got to look at is all these different methods of going by Islamic calendars. Are they Islamically valid? Are they scientifically valid? Are they accepted by the community? And are they practical to the community? As these are the criteria which have to be in place for each one, right? So the ones which are tried and tested until this point, so we have to look at, like, let's say, for example, the calculations-based one. Is that Islamically valid? Yes, it is. Is it scientifically valid? Yes, it is. Is it accepted by the community? Now, there's big question marks there. There's a lot of ulama and big sections of the community are going to say, no, it's not, right? And is it practical? Yes, it is. Okay, so if we move on to following countries like, say, Saudi, is it Islamically valid? Yes, it is. Is it scientifically valid? There's big question marks, and I can point towards, let's say, for example, our start date for Ramadan. We started on like 2 different dates just now, a couple of weeks back, right? And throughout history, as certainly as I was growing up in the last 3 decades, there's always been, different start dates, right? And then is it accepted by the community? There's throughout, say in my lifetime, certainly, there's been that issue about not acceptable in the community. It's not bringing unity, should we say. Is it practical? Yes. And then following other distant countries, you have the same thing, right? But what New Crescent Society is doing, i.e. going out looking for the moon every month, is it Islamically valid? Certainly it is, because this is what the Prophet ﷺ did. He used to go out and look for the moon himself. Is it scientifically valid? Yes. Is it accepted by the community? Yes. And is it practical for the community? Yes. So it ticks the most boxes compared to everything else we've had. And it's the only solution which hasn't been put before the whole public to date.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Now, I'm going to be devil's advocate for the next 40 minutes or whatever, however long we've got. And I'm not going to side with any particular opinion or any particular school of thought of this. Now, you mentioned just there, is it Islamically valid to follow other countries like Saudi Arabia? Because from what I read, and social media bombards us with messages from this ulama, this mufti, whoever, is it okay or acceptable to accept Saudi even when Saudi themselves say don't follow us?
Well, look, frankly, I'm not an alim and I'm not a mufti. So I'm not in a position to answer that question, okay? The very fact that the ulama of this country have decided that it's okay to do that, we have to trust them and say that it must be Islamically valid. Okay. Otherwise, why are we doing it?
Okay.
I mean, ask yourself that question.
And I think that's an interesting point, because I think for a lot of people, rather than worry about the technicalities of moon sighting and everything that it involves, we've just handed over that responsibilities to our ulama, to our massages, to say, right, whatever you say, we will go with that as the majority, and khair, whatever is good, will come from that, inshallah. But how do we go about reconciling very deep-rooted and deep-seated, I think, political opinions within Islam around accepting rulings from certain parts of the Islamic world?
Well, look, I mean, you mentioned about certain parts of the Islamic world. I mean, with New Crescent Society, we're not interested in like the rest of the Islamic world. All we're interested in bringing unity to the Muslims of Britain, of the UK, right? So, we're not interested in when some other country does, Eid or Ramadan or whatever. All we're interested in, we want unity in this country.
And that's, I think that's a great objective and a great purpose to have. However, the reality is that what we see in communities and cities up and down the country is that, people are not even, and I suppose a lot of it comes from ignorance. And I'm not saying people are stupid, please don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is that people are just saying, no, this is my this is my truth, this is my reality, and I'm going to stick with it. How do we, because in order for unity and consensus to take place and to happen, how do we get a meaningful discussion to take place?
I mean, the key thing is, I guess, you mentioned the thing about ignorance, like I use the term like openly there. I don't mean to attack anyone individually, but it's all about education. And it's about getting the message out there, getting more people to understand this thing, right? So we work in partnership with the Royal Greenwich Observatory and run like a monthly, we deliver a monthly program with them called Astronomy and Islam. And in addition to this, we run like monthly training programs about how to sight the moon as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like for anyone to sign up to. So you can just need to go onto our website and you can register for these like monthly training courses. And then once you're onto there, there's like lots of, we got groups up and down the country, and you can connect with anyone in your locality. So there's a lot of experience out there.
Great stuff. I mean, so a couple of things then. You mentioned at the start of the discussion that you've had a positive response from organizations. What's been the outcome of that positive response? Has there been some sort of agreement? Is there some sort of charter that you've drawn up to say that, okay, within this district or this locality or this city, this town or community, we have signed up to what the New Crescent Society has proposed, and from here on in, we will follow or, all agree
back
in accordance with that?
2019, there was a big conference in London, and there was some like 130 odd masjids took part in this, okay? And the outcome of that was like really positive. But then after that, COVID kicked in, and then that all took a backseat. But just in a nutshell, what they said was they do want to take things forward and like have a discussion about having like an Islamic calendar. But in order to do this, we need to get more people out there every month to actually go out and sight the moon on the 29th of each month, 29th and 30th. Because for this whole thing to work, we need to have people out looking up in the skies and looking for the moon on the 29th and 30th.
So how do we then, from a Sharia perspective, how do we verify this? Because what I understand, and forgive me because I don't know much about this, but I understand that in Islamic countries where Sharia law is being implemented, there has to be an oath and a witness, and all those things have to be signed and agreed and verified in order for that sighting to be valid.
Right. So in relation to that, I mean, this is still in early stages, but we have like a trial testimony panel in place. So this involves like a panel of, I don't know the exact number, but there's like there's a panel of ulama who will take testimony from people who have seen the moon on like the 29th day.
Mm-hmm.
So that is in place already.
Right.
So obviously, nothing is going to change overnight. This is going to take time, but these steps are in place.
Okay, great. And I was thinking about this because obviously I knew you were going to come on the program, but there's always a belief that to sight the moon here in England and the UK, it's usually very cloudy, and to get a new moon sighting on the horizon for however long it is quite challenging. If that was the case, and obviously according to Islam, the Prophet ﷺ said that if you don't sight it on the 29th night, then you complete 30 days. So if you were to go by that, would there ever be a scenario where every month in the Islamic calendar would be 30 days?
No, I mean, personally, right, I've been doing this now for about 2 years, and I've not come across a scenario like that. So in my experience, it doesn't tend to go more than like 2 months or 30 days. And in the last 2 years, which I've been doing it, I've seen it's been like, it always averages out. It's like 6 months of 29 days and 6 months of 30 days. And we've gathered now, I think it's 4.5 years worth of data, which shows that the moon can be seen in the UK. Okay. And it's a myth to say that it's too cloudy. In fact, let me give you something else to think about as well. There's certain countries in the world which have like a well-established
I think we've lost
moon sighting, like say for Bangladesh.
Yes.
Does anyone question their moon sighting? Do they? They don't, right? Bangladesh has like 4 months of the year consecutive monsoon, zero visibility. How do you even see the moon when it's like monsoon for 4 months? So we don't even know what cloud is in this country.
Okay. All right, I take that point on board, and I do. So in terms of the what is the ultimate goal? What is the goal for New Crescent Society? I mean,
so the goal is simple. I mean, it's just to create unity. I mean, I'll be totally frank with you as well. And this is my personal point. I'm not saying this from New Crescent. I'm saying it from me, right? The reason I got into this is to fulfill the sunnah. Because like, I know the Prophet used to do this. I thought I want to do this as well. It's a forgotten sunnah to fulfill this. And secondly, it's a case of like, look, the Christian or the kuffar, all of them united with their festivals. The Christians do Christmas all together, the Hindus do Diwali and whatever all together, and the Jews do this thing. But us Muslims, we're like the laughing stock. We're always disunited, They laugh at us. Oh, they can't even do Eid on the same day, It's a case of we need to have some kind of unity. What we can't agree on just one day.
But
so a New Crescent Society, I guess, ultimately is to get unity for the Muslims in the UK.
Yeah. I mean, I that what you said resonates deeply with me, because I've been in a position where if Eid has fallen on 2 separate days, I've actually prayed 2 Eid namaz, one in my locality and one where I go to make sure that everyone in the family is happy. So with that in mind, it sounds like a simple aim, a very simple and a noble objective, if we're being honest. But it's living in Leicester, there is so much. I don't want to say division, but there's so much. I think conviction in what people believe, and I think. Okay, so let me rephrase that, and forgive me for rambling somewhat, but what needs to be done to be allowed to have, I suppose, more open discussion around this? Because I have seen sometimes where people, they ask a question and for whatever reason it gets shut down, and for all intents and purposes you're just told, right, this is the decision, stick with it, don't question it, let's just go with it. How do we get around that?
Can I be honest again as well?
Because for me,
Straightforward.
Brother Shakil, I think that if you crack that nut, then the rest of it sort of falls into place. It's just that initial, coming together for this, like you say, for the sake of unity, to have one coherent strategy in place around this is I think would be priceless.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got to be the only community in the country who is disunited. Everyone else has got it. Every other community has it. It's just us, and we're the laughing stock. We're the probably second biggest community, and we're totally disunited. Always bickering and arguing amongst each other. Oh, the Deobandis, the Barelvis, the this, the that. Just always at each other's necks. It's terrible. It makes them really sad all the time. The key is we need to work together, overcome any petty differences and unite on it, right?
So where does that responsibility lie then? Where does that responsibility lie around making it happen?
Well, everyone needs to, ultimately, I guess, it must lie with the ulama, who needs to sit down and decide, because people like me and yourself, who, we can't make these kind of decisions, but we can just take steps towards it. The decision is going to lie on the ulama. They have to make the final say. They have the final say on these things. I do happen to know, though, there has recently been some fatwa decisions taken by some masajid who have said it's valid now Islamically for us to accept only decisions in the UK. Some big masjids in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh have made these decisions. There's some documents going around. So if the masses got together and approached the masjid committees, people power would be a big thing to overcome.
Okay, so people power. So I kind of feel like we're delving into a can of worms here, Brother Shakil, and I'm sure you can understand my not hesitancy, but I need to make sure that
I understand.
As presenting this program, which I do want to have an open and honest discussion around this, because I've seen it. It's divided families where you've had one section of a family.
I know. I have this friend, right? He does Eid on one day, and his wife does it on the day after in the same household.
And that's more common than we would actually, like to think about. And I just don't know how I've got my own ideas on how we can do this and etc. But I kind of feel a bit. All right, let me ask you this question: do you feel let down by the leadership in this country
100%
around this? And what can organizations like, for example, next week I've got Muslim Council of Britain coming on. Is there a role for them to play to maybe mobilize and harness everyone to say, right, you know what, we are the overarching leadership organization representing all Muslims in the country, and whatever we say will go?
100%. So the responsibility lies firmly with leadership. Look, leadership goes from the top down and doesn't go from the bottom up. Now, sometimes, especially in my local area, I feel like I'm the one doing the, I'm the one doing the leadership, even though I'm a nobody.
But is that dangerous though? And I'm not questioning your credentials or your I just think that I know being an ulama is a honorable, respected, noble position to have, and it's attained through years of study and understanding, and being very academic in the field of Islam and Islamic sciences. So this is, again, it comes back to that thing. Well, they're the experts. Who are we to question them?
Well, if your expert is not making a right decision, you have a right to question it.
And see, this is again,
for example, if you go to the Jummah khutbah, and the Maulana or Mufti quotes some hadith without reference, you can question the hadith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the reference? Can you give me the chain of narrators? You have a right to say that.
So herein lies the dilemma, because we get really good, strong moral guidance and really good leadership in the majority of Islamic society and day-to-day life and living. But I just feel that when it comes to this issue, you're shut down almost.
The thing is with this, right? It's one of them issues which just get put on the back of the shelf. It's like it's not considered that significant, but in actual fact it is, because it affects the start of your Ramadan, so you're fasting on the wrong day. It affects your Ashura, the fast of Ashura, so you're doing them on the wrong day. It affects your Shawwal, you're doing that on the wrong day as well. It affects everything.
Okay.
But it's like no one wants to give it the time of day because they consider, oh, it's insignificant. Who wants to go out and look for the moon?
Right. Okay. So let's just move the discussion on slightly. And I want to talk about the sort of the technicalities around moon sighting. And I know, and again, I'm a lay person. I'm not an alim. I don't claim to be one. And God forbid, I would never claim to be one. But in terms of sighting the moon, I understand that certain requirements that the moon needs to be sighted by the naked eye and needs to be witnessed, and therefore it can then be verified. So what are the actual, what is the technique, if there is one, that you could explain, or the instrumentation or technicalities required to be able to successfully sight the moon?
Well, there's no instrument as such required. I mean, it's a very simple process. I mean, all you got to do is find in your locality, just go to like an open space, like say a park or somewhere where you have a clear view of the western horizon, right? Mm-hmm. So you can see the sun go down. And then as the sun is about to dip below the horizon, mark that spot, okay? And then once it's gone below the horizon, you just have to wait. And then shortly after that, you should see the moon appear slightly to the left of where the sun went down. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's as simple as that.
And how, I mean, I'm guessing that it's pretty, I've never seen with my naked eye the moon.
See,
how long does the moon appear on the horizon for?
You're in Leicester, innit? Yeah. So there's a group of people in Leicester who do it. I invite you to link up with them and go along, because when you do it and you actually see the crescent first time, you get this really warm feeling and feeling of joy and excitement inside, and you can't really describe it. It's really nice.
And is it okay to use things like telescopes or other?
Yeah, look, I mean, some people have poor vision, right? So for that person, they might need to use a telescope, right? But once you've seen it initially with a telescope, once you've located it, and then you might be able to see with your just naked eye as well. Mm-hmm. So as long as you can see it afterwards with the naked eye, but there's nothing to say you can't use it in some kind of instrument for location purposes.
Okay, so that's really interesting. And so, okay, so you are allowed to use visual aids, things like telescopes to help you magnify the horizon and get a better line of sight. And
yeah, I mean, look, some people would classify glasses as a visual aid.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose, yeah, the naked eye is open to interpretation.
Yeah.
So let's do. Well, let me just remind the listeners that this is Ramadan 87.7 FM. It is Drive Time with me, brother Irfhan, sitting in the hot seat, and our guest today is Shakil Qureshi from the New Crescent Society. Fascinating and compelling discussion around moon sighting, its origins and its techniques and its validity. So if you have got a question or you'd like to give your 2 pence worth, then by all means drop me a text on 077 488 55055. We've got a question coming in from brother Jamil. We need the major masajids of localities to be on board, and we've touched on this. And yeah, I think getting 100% is the thing. I mean, where is the block? Where is the barrier in getting people on board? What needs to be done, or what can be said to get them on board? Because I think this, I suppose, stubbornness, for want of a better word, is really harming the communities because it creates a toxic environment at a time when we should be celebrating, coming together, and be joyous because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us Eid as a gift where He almost commands us to be happy and joyful.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I mentioned it before, but look, if one person goes up to the imam and says, listen, I think you should stop following such and such country or stop with your other method and start looking for the moon yourself, it's easy for them to say no. But if like 10 people went to him, he might find it a bit more difficult.
So why do you think ulama are reluctant in this particular instance when it comes to moons? Everything else around Islam and everything, they're very proactive and supportive and vocal. But for some reason, there seems to be a lack of desire around getting this. I'm not saying they're getting it wrong, but to take it into our own hands and verify it amongst ourselves.
I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, on one hand, I don't blame the ulama because they're just employees of the masjid as well.
Yeah.
Right. So they just do what they're told by the committees. And
I'm not sure that's
their
particularly
primary function
true.
is like
I'm sure there's ulama out there who would say that they've got free reign as part of their imamah.
No, I'm sure there is as well, but I can only speak from my experience.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just looking at it from that lens. So but yeah, up and down. I mean, there's probably some ulama who run the masjid like a one-man show too. But I'm only speaking it from my experience. Right. So I forgot what I was saying now.
It's about
so
that reluctance to actually embrace and own the issue.
Yeah. So if people go to the ulama and just say to them, listen, first of all, I would say is whoever thinks this is good, actually go out there and experience it themselves. Go on our website, and then if you can put your number in, and you'll be connected with whoever's. There'd be like local groups in your area, and once you've been out there and experienced seeing a new Crescent yourself one time, and believe me, it's like unbelievable feeling. You want to do it again and again.
Sure.
Right. Once you've experienced it yourself, and then like a group of you approach your masjid and put the proposal to them as well. Get your ulama, your imam, to go out with you as well, and maybe approach you that way.
So, a couple of questions for you, Brother Shakil, around the actual moon sighting. So, as is tradition, almost a few days before Ramadan, you'll get the WhatsApp message saying, according to scientific calculations, the moon will be visible at this time, X, Y, Z, on this horizon in this country, so on and so forth. And then, almost straight after that, we'll get an announcement saying that, Ramadan is on this day, when, according to scientific evidence, it's impossible for the moon to be visible. Has there, in your experience and your sort of involvement with this, has there ever been an instance where the actual sighting of the moon has gone against scientific calculations?
Yes, there has. So, I mean, we don't even have to go very far back in history for this one, actually.
Then doesn't that put the scientific calculations, doesn't that make it a moot point?
Yeah, so, like, with this Ramadan we're in currently now, the science said the moon was not going to be visible at all, right? But, for the majority of our country, UK that is, who follow a certain country, I'm not going to name them, but they were the only country in I think the world actually, who spotted this moon. And hence we started Ramadan when we did, right? All the neighboring countries, they didn't see it, surprise, surprise. But that particular country did. So it makes you question things.
It does make it makes you curious because what I don't want to do is start to cast doubt on countries, on leaders, because shak is the first step to kufr and all those things. So I don't think it's fair to cast doubt on anyone, anything. Now, from what I understand, in places like the Middle East, there are councils and there are leaders and there are departments for the halal sighting, whereby if someone claims to have it cited, then it needs to be verified and signed under an oath. So what I'm saying is that, again, being devil's advocate, if a country does cite it and the neighboring countries do not cite it, is it right to say that that country is doubtful?
Well, I mean, if they've got a system in place and they're saying it's seen, well, I guess you just got to go with it. But let me put a question to you. I mean, I'm guessing by the name, your heritage is like South Asian, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's suppose it's Eid now, right? Or it's 29th of Ramadan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone in Amritsar claims they've seen the moon, right? But in Lahore, it was like they didn't see it. Do you think there's any chance they would accept the sighting in Pakistan under any circumstance?
No, but then we're entering sort of the realms of political opinion, and this is the whole point.
But
I think,
yeah,
you make a valid point, because it all comes down to, well, this is what I accept, and everything else I don't accept, and that's the problem, because we have certain divisions who will accept Arabia, certain divisions who won't accept Arabia, and therein lies the dilemma. How do we? That is
So this is what I'm saying. This is what I said before. We're New Crescent Society, not interested in any other country whatsoever. So if any other country wants to do what they want to do, let them do it.
But then surely that's
We're
creating
only interested in the UK.
I get
so we
that.
have data that proves you can see the moon in the UK, and we know it ticks all the boxes, which would make it a viable option, more so than any other. So for that reason, we feel it's the best option for the UK.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a message coming through here, Brother Shakil. Salams, I believe it's not just ulama, but a combination of commitment from us, our elders at home, and the ulama. If we can get the unity in our own homes fixed, then inshallah we can extend this wider. Imagine if you were to go with TNCS, New Crescent Society, and the moon for Ramadan was a day earlier, but your parents are stubborn because they're only exposed to the local masjid, all hell breaks loose. What do you do? I think we need an Islamic ulama conference where all the schools of thought come together and go from here onwards. We are going now. I guess that's what your ultimate goal is, right?
Yeah, ultimately that's the goal. Yeah, 100%. But as you can probably imagine, trying to get all the ulama and all the schools of thoughts together in one place, that's going to take time and effort.
Yeah.
But on a small level, what we can do is we can get people to go out on a monthly basis and look up in the sky. Is the moon there? Is it not there? That's easy. So we can at least do that and put that, that passion in the heart.
Yeah.
Because once you've done that, I guarantee you'll love it and you'll want to go again and again, all weathers, no matter what. You want to keep doing it.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? It comes back to that old saying: you can take the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's the nut that needs to be cracked, I believe, because, like the last person who text just said, there is incredible stubbornness amongst the communities, or the fact that they might even be incorrect or wrong, and for them to accept that is very improbable, shall we say?
Yeah, well, based on the conference that took place,
and don't get me wrong, Qureshi.
I mean,
I think what you guys are doing is great. I'm just saying, from a practical, lived experience perspective, these are the challenges, and I think everyone listening would love nothing more than for the Muslim community in the United Kingdom to be united and celebrate on one day. There needs to be a force that can bring things together. And I think with the New Crescent Society, inshallah, you'll work to achieve this. But at the moment, it just seems like you're another voice in a growing list of voices.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's unfortunate that is that way, but I do believe that we make the most sense, and we've got a big following and we've got a good system in place.
Okay.
And inshallah, there will be a breakthrough soon.
Inshallah. Okay, so what's next then for the society in terms of what events have you got planned? What's the next part of your strategy?
Oh, I mean, we've always got something going on, some kind of training event or some kind of educational program going on all the time. I just direct people to our website, newcrescentsociety.org. And so if you just go on there, and there's always something going on. And if you living in London, we've got a program in the Royal Greenwich Observatory once a month as well, Astronomy in Islam. During COVID, they used to do that online, but that's finished now. It's back live again. But that's really a good program if anyone's in London. But otherwise, we want to put this big conference of all the masjids back together again as well, and try and get everyone together, get them talking.
Okay, great stuff. So we're having some more texts coming in. It seems like this is a popular topic, no doubt. I believe this will take more work. We can't just go out on the 29th to see the moon. We need to check this on the 28th as well to rule out anything. I don't know. I'm not sure about that going out on the 28th. But I guess
the hadith
I see the point. I see the point.
On the 29th.
The hadith says look for on the 29th. Okay, so that... but I suppose what the person texting is saying that the 28th might be incorrect. Therefore, we would, if you're a day behind, then the 28th could technically be the 29th in order to rule out any, or maybe, adjust the calendar in that respect.
Whoever that person is, if you tell them to join one of our WhatsApp groups, they can access our 5 years of data and they'll find there's not been a month in that 5-year period where there's been 28 days in the month.
No, I think, but what they're trying to say is that by going out on the 28th, it allows you to maybe, just readjust any mistakes or shortcomings there might have been. And I suppose, is there harm?
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, if someone wants to go out on the 28th, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, Brother Shakil. So listen, we're running out of time fast, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. Please do come back again and visit us, inshallah, maybe next year to see how things have progressed, and maybe we can talk about something a bit more, let's say, a bit more positive in that respect, and hopefully we can get more unity around this subject. So Jazakumullah khair for your time. Is there one last message to our listeners?
So guys, check our website and please go out, look for the moon on the 29th of the month. Don't just rely on messages on the TV and make the phone call to the masjid. Don't just do that kind of thing. Go out, look for yourself. Follow the sunnah. Sunnah is forever, not just
not just for Ramadan.
Don't just listen to people.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Brother Shakil. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you next time, inshallah, and have a great Eid.
Jazakallah khair for your time. Thank you very much. No problem.
There you go, folks. That was Shakil Qureshi from the New Crescent Society talking all things lunar and scientific in relation to the beautiful religion of Islam. I hope you found that enlightening, informative, and thought-provoking at the very least. Right, I'm going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place, but a different guest. I can't remember off the top of my head who I've got coming tomorrow, but I know it's going to be a good one, so make sure you tune in. Don't forget the Leicester Children's Hospital's charity, justgiving.com/fundraising/Ramadan-radio. Stay tuned to Ramadan 87.7 FM and inshallah.